It's another wonderful, happy Friday here in New York City. You're watching I Love Photography on April 11th, 2014. I'm here, as always, with the lovely Sarah Jacobs. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Alan. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. You know, they said this past evening in New York was the warmest evening this year, which is kind of hard to believe because it's the middle of April already.
Yeah, you think that would have already happened.
Yeah, but it was a low of 56. I hate that we have to keep talking about the weather every time we start the broadcast, but it's kind of a big deal. We had a really crappy winter here in New York,
We did. We
so I think there's
deserve.
a lot of excitement.
Yeah, there is.
You know what else I have a lot of excitement about?
Hmm.
Photography.
Hmm.
Yeah. Hence the name of this broadcast, I Love Photography. But why don't we get straight into it? And as always, we start with something a little heavier so that we can sort of progress into the less heavy. But this past week, another photojournalist was killed in Afghanistan. Anya Niedringhaus, longtime photojournalist who had covered Afghanistan pretty extensively, and kind of tragic the way that she passed. She was actually being escorted with an official, with officials, with policemen, etc., when another policeman basically opened fire on the party, killing two people, and it's just kind of senseless. And the one thing that I was reading about her life is that she really spent a lot of time in Afghanistan to understand the culture, etc., and really tried to show different parts of Afghanistan and the conflict, etc. And she wasn't this type of person who kind of just dropped in and shot a few frames and was with an embed and then flew out. She really worked that for a long time, and so I think it's just kind of tragic to see kind of another senseless death here. And a lot of different places had tributes to her. Again, Alan Taylor over at The Atlantic, friend of PhotoShelter, had some wonderful photos from her career, and saw kind of an outpouring of love on Facebook. So that was just nice, a nice way to remember a great photojournalist in sort of tragic times.
Yeah, I was reading an interview with David Guttenfeld,
Yep.
and he just had the utmost respect for her. I mean, he said that photojournalists will go out and ask themselves, what would Anja do? So it's
Yeah.
obvious that they really held her work in high regard.
And so as I was going through my Facebook feed this week, I also saw that Chris Hondros, his book came out, so I promptly ordered it.
Oh, look, you already have it in the flesh.
I have it. It's called Testament. Chris Hondros, who was killed in the Libyan conflict, who I had the pleasure of seeing at the Eddie Adams workshop present many, many years ago when he was showing some work from Iraq. And it was just this, it was amazing because he showed us all the frames out of this sequence when they were kind of on a night patrol, and then they came across this little girl whose parents had been killed, and there was blood all over this little girl's hand. But you saw kind of how he worked the scene, which was so eye-opening for me, because not every picture was great. He was working the scene, and then all of a sudden this amazing picture shows up, and you're like, oh my God, no wonder that is an award-winning photo. It's just amazing. Anyway, this particular photo, I can't remember exactly, maybe like Liberia or something. Here's a soldier carrying a rocket-propelled grenade launcher, like obviously amped up, like running towards Chris. And I remember seeing it at the time, and when I first saw it, I was like, okay, whatever, it's another like war zone photo. And then when I sort of looked at it again, I was like, oh my God, Chris is like, I don't know, 15 feet away from this guy,
Directly in his path.
directly
Yeah.
in his path of fire. He catches him at the moment that the guy's jumping up in the air. He has the fortitude to sort of level everything off and check his exposure and all this kind of stuff. And it brought sort of a new appreciation for what these guys do on a daily basis. So go out and get that book. I mean, just a wonderful, wonderful book, and a great guy. So again, just tragic. Two fantastic photographers, two great people that we unfortunately lost to war. And what more is there to say about that? The Webby Awards.
Yeah, on a lighter note.
On a lighter note,
yeah,
tell us about the Webby Awards there.
Yeah, this is the 18th year of the Webby Awards, and it's a celebration of all things internet, basically. But of course, I looked into the category of social, best photography, and graphics, and it's always fun to see what brands are doing with photography and how they're helping photographers. And there's some really good candidates up, including GoPro, who they're up for their Instagram. If you are an adventure photographer, you got to be following GoPro on Instagram. I mean, they're just posting crazy stuff every day.
Crazy.
Also, yeah, crazy. Also, the National Geographic's Proof blog, I feel like that's sort of a shoe-in and kind of, I mean, it has to be nominated. I mean, that's...
And it feels like they just launched yesterday. I mean, it really has only been a few months since they launched, right? But there's great work up there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that will probably be my vote, is for the Proof.
I'm right.
But I thought one of the more interesting ad campaigns nominated is Mercedes-Benz Take the Wheel, and Mercedes, came out with this CVR car, and they wanted to target Gen Y, which Gen Y thinks that Mercedes is for their dads, basically. So what Mercedes did is they hired 5 of Instagram's best photographers, including Paul Octavius, and a few other great guys, and one woman. And they hired them to just drive around in the new Mercedes CVR, and they didn't even give them a brief. They didn't pre-approve any images. It was just like, go have fun in this car, take a road trip, and post images with the car out on landscapes.
That's pretty sweet. That's a sweet gig.
I know, and whoever got the most likes on Instagram won the car. So it was this great way for Mercedes to introduce the CR-V to Gen Y. I mean, it's a great campaign, I think.
I thought it was a brilliant campaign. I should point out that Mercedes didn't just randomly source these people. They actually went to Tinker Mobile, which is an agency. Tinker is an agency, and Tinker Mobile is their mobile phone agency, and I think they have something like 25 photographers or so. And the whole reason they exist is to promote iPhoneography. And I guess the criteria to be on this roster is you got to have like 100,000 followers on Instagram, which makes sense. I mean, they want people that have sway. And when Mercedes-Benz comes and says, we want to do an ad campaign, you don't want to have 400 followers like I do. That's probably not going to get a lot of,
a lot of traction. No.
There's no traction there. That's right.
No, well, Chris Ozer won, and I need to find him on Instagram and follow him. Him and his
I mean, it was kind of interesting what people were doing with those photos. I mean, it's definitely worth checking out these photos and seeing how they portrayed it, and seeing, they had to use the iPhone. They couldn't, or whatever cellular phone, the mobile phone that they were using. They couldn't use a DSLR and then use Witegram and then upload it. So
right.
It's cool. It's like the same tool that everyone else has in their pocket, and they had to do it.
Yeah, awesome campaign. Anyway, go vote for the Webby Awards, and which category you think should win or nominee.
Speaking of the Proof blog, you had a great photo here.
Yeah.
Just kind of Daniel Hjorth. Wow.
Yes, photographing portraits of kids who participate in the Polar Bear Ice Swimmers Club in Copenhagen, Denmark. No, these people are insane. They're jumping into below freezing waters. I mean, no. But
as a person from Hawaii, this really makes no sense to me.
I know, it's like the exact opposite of what you're doing for fun.
Yeah, I shiver when I drink some a glass of ice water. Oh God.
Yeah, these are some 8-year-olds with some thick skin. The portraits are just so telling, and that's what Daniel kind of focused on, because he realized that he didn't really need to photograph the entire event of them jumping in and prepping and all that, but the shot of them getting out of the water and what they look like right when they get out of the water, I mean, that tells the whole story. And the sharpness of the images and that kind of like wet, shiny look reminded me of Jill Greenberg's Crying Babies series a little bit. And although these kids are a little bit older than the Crying Babies, I just think that's a funny like juxtaposition of these children sobbing because they can't have candy, and then these guys jumping in, freezing water and being okay.
It's a cool image for sure, and if you didn't know the context, you'd think someone fell through the ice.
Yeah,
Well, they did fall through the ice, except that they jumped on purpose.
Right, except for they meant to do that.
That makes no sense. So you brought up this James Franco exhibition called New Film Stills, sort of inspired by Cindy Sherman.
I wouldn't even use the word inspired. I would just say copied.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, James Franco is showing his series New Film Stills at the Pace Gallery in New York this month. And it's him, he recreated, I'm not sure exactly how many of the images, but a good handful, all varying in different sizes, and used silver gelatin printing. And a lot of people have recreated these. I feel like, if you're a student and you're studying photography, you're probably at some point might try to recreate Cindy Sherman's. I mean, it's been recreated with a Bratz doll. So this has happened a lot, but I'm having trouble here understanding why Franco wanted to do this and how he got placement in Pace.
Because he's James Franco. But yeah, I totally agree. These are. I mean, I've only seen this one. I'm not going to go see the exhibition because James Franco is not a photographer. I mean, he's a talented actor. He does a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But this is not great photography.
No, it's not. Agreed. I'm still going to go see it, but.
Okay. Well, you bring us the report. Now, James Franco was also in the news this week. Mm-hmm. For some interactions on Instagram with a 17-year-old girl, which wasn't so cool.
No, yes, I did see that as well. I don't know. I think it was probably a publicity stunt for his new movie, Palo Alto, but I don't know.
Okay, so it was. I put a little bit of bitter taste in my mouth, and then I saw the Pace stuff, and then I was like, this guy, forget this guy.
Forget him.
Or maybe I was a little jaded because of the Instagram stunt or whatever it was.
Right. I don't know.
Oh, James.
James.
Speaking of Cindy Sherman and old school and whatnot, I saw this in the Times yesterday. Katrine Eisman from SVA had it in her feed on Facebook, and it's Diane Arbus records a Bronx family's unsettling dynamic, and here's a guy named Eddie Carmel who grew to 7'2" or something like that as a result of a thyroid tumor, acromegaly as they call it, and it's just kind of a weird the article talks about this sort of stilted relationship that they had, and how the father was really disappointed in the son. The parents were Orthodox Jews from what has now become Israel. The son wasn't really into religion and politics. But they say the mom kind of secretly liked the son and the fact that he did his own thing. And here's this photo that she took. She befriended the guy, knew him for like years. And here's a photo of him kind of like staring down at his parents at a point where he could no longer walk without a cane. But apparently this guy, Eddie Carmel, was known for being able to create kind of silly poetry on the spot, which I thought was kind of interesting. And so he died almost a year to the day after Arbus took her own life. And he was being interviewed about Arbus, and they said, make a poem about Diane. So At the end of the article, and maybe I'll take the time to read it to you because it's so cute.
Yeah, I didn't read it, so.
Yeah, so a long time ago I had a real strange pal, a truly strange and wonderful gal. In a world that's growing quickly and seems to be in some kind of weird stir, here was a marvelous gal, a photographer, who would suddenly open up her little eyes and mutter and quickly snap her camera shutter. Diane Arbus is now not with us anymore, and it's a tragedy that suddenly we have faced a closing door of a wonderful gal, a talented one, affectionately known as the lovely dear old son of a gun, Diane Arbus.
Wow. That's
Guy made
brilliant.
that up on the spot. Now,
Wow.
yeah, okay. So the rhymes are a little puerile, but that's poignant. That
That
was
is.
like his friend. He was kind of a social misfit,
Yeah.
and Diane was kind of his friend. So anyway, I check that out in the New York Times. It really is a great story surrounding that photograph, and that was our sort of appreciation. Well, we didn't really appreciate Cindy Sherman too much, other than to say that Franco ripped her off.
Right.
But we did appreciate Diane Arbus there. That
Yeah.
was great. The coming of spring means that it's opening day across all the ballparks.
Yeah.
And over in Chicago, I love these. So Chicago Tribune photojournalist Brian Casella. So, a lot of these cameras, like my Nikon D4, has the ability to take multiple exposures. And it's not limited to like 2 exposures. You can actually just dial in how many exposures you want to take. Now, apparently it's not as easy as that. I mean, it is as easy, like you don't have to wind back your film like we had to back in the old days on the spool. But you have to sort of pre-visualize what the photo is going to look like, because you have to put the second or third exposure in the dark places or in the negative spaces in your photo. Well, so Brian did a series on opening day, and they're just kind of lovely photos.
Yeah, they're really fun.
It reminds me of kind of looking at a reflection in a window where you're seeing like multiple images.
Mm-hmm.
Except that there are 3 images in these photos. So I was at the NPPA Northern Short course a few weeks ago, and one of the presenters was Marcus Yam, who's at the over in Seattle, and formerly contributed to the New York Times. He wanted to do a feature on Seattle, and he came up with sort of the same concept. And when Marcus was pitching it to his editors, they said, well, let's see if I can find it. I might have forgotten to pull it up. He said, they said, Marcus, the problem we're having is that you can't manipulate photos. And he said, well, what if I do it all in camera? And they said, okay, that's different, right? So we have, for ethical reasons in photojournalism, you can only tone and make adjustments, subtle adjustments to the photo, but you can't composite photos, even if it's sort of obvious that it's a composite. Because who knows, right? People get fooled and whatnot. So they said, okay, well, if you do it in camera, then it's what the camera caught. And so he did a series, and I wish I had the link here up. Look up Marcus Yam, Google Marcus Yam, the multiple exposure. They're fantastic.
Yeah, I liked those better than the ballpark ones. The Seattle, yeah. And you could tell he really thought out. He created a whole plan, wrote down all these notes about what he wanted to capture within each frame. It's really well thought out and great series.
That guy's a very talented photographer, by the way, and just seeing how he sketches and he thinks about photography. I really enjoyed hearing him speak, and just a really nice guy. And just a crazy story about how he came to America as a kid and on his own, and was an engineering student at RIT, and then like his senior year said, I'm going to switch to photography because he had like some internship, and then he said, I'm going to dedicate my life to photography, much to the chagrin of his parents, who then disowned him. It's just like crazy stuff, but he's really thriving as a photographer. So kudos to Marcus for trying this stuff out. Sarah, a couple weeks ago we talked about the most viewed photo ever, and we found out, well, people are speculating, and I think it's probably true, that it's that Windows XP background.
Yeah, the Bliss photo.
The Bliss photo.
Yeah, of green fields and bright blue sky.
And we sort of speculated, like, what was up with that photo? Was it photoshopped? And then this week, Microsoft, of all people, interviewed this guy and put it out on the Microsoft channel.
Yes, and it was taken by Charles O'Reilly.
Charles O'Reilly.
Excuse me, Charles O'Reilly. Who's based outside of San Francisco. He took the photo with a Mamiya and Fujifilm, and it is not photoshopped. Microsoft wanted this photo so bad that they paid for a plane ticket for him to hand deliver the film to Microsoft's headquarters in Seattle, which I thought is the best part of the story. They were
Yeah,
like,
that
"Oh,
was fantastic.
we'll just fly you up here. You know,
And
we
the
don't want
reason
to."
is FedEx and UPS wouldn't insure the value of the photo because they paid him ostensibly a lot of money, as they should, because they did a whole rights buyout on the photo.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he filled out the slip for FedEx to say, hey, this photo is worth, $1 million, they're like, we're not taking that.
So Microsoft was like, "All right, we'll just send it up with the photographer."
The baller move would have been, we'll send Bill's plane out to come pick you up. That would have been the baller move.
Oh yeah, true.
That would have been sweet. But then you found this other photo.
Well, yeah, so it turns out that Charles O'Rear is a PhotoShelter member.
Which is insane.
Which is amazing. We're not looking at the exact XP photo, the Bliss photo, but this is one of his others. Not much going on his site, but he still logs in.
Still kicking it.
Still kicking it.
Yeah,
thanks,
so
Charles.
of course he can't display the Bliss photo because he sold the rights to Microsoft.
Right, of course.
Full rights buyout. But yeah, no, I saw this and I was like, whoa, I guess the light does hit the hills and when the clouds are out in such a way that it looks really like that Windows XP background.
Yeah, and when you're using, Fujifilm, then there you go.
It just pops. Those colors just pop on you.
Yeah.
Wacky. That I really, who watches the whole YouTube video, especially when it's like 7 minutes long, but I watched it.
I watched it.
I thought it was cool. And he also said, I don't think I could have captured it on 35 millimeter.
Yeah,
he was really into his Mamiya RZ67, man.
Yeah, yep.
That's old school. Here's something that I found. I think it was on Petapixel or something like that.
That's terrifying.
It's sort of terrifying and amazing. So these computer scientists at Washington University figured out a way to take a single photo of a kid and age it in a very realistic way. Now, you remember watching movies from when you're a kid and they try to make like a young person look old and it's never convincing.
Right.
Because it's like you can't hollow out cheeks. Like if someone's 20 years old, they have full cheeks and there's no amount of makeup that can make it look, you can make the skin look wrinkly, but the face is still too vibrant and puffy.
Totally.
But somehow they add these shadows into this stuff and it really ages people. And they have these comparisons towards the bottom here of the predicted photo and the actual photo. So here is input age 3 of this kid, and then over here is the computer-generated photo and the actual photo of a kid at 16.
Wow.
And you're like, what? And I wish they had like a really longitudinal one of like 3 to 80, because that would have been freaky, but
yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, no, it's very, very accurate.
I mean, I don't even know what to say. I really wanted like there to be an app. That's what we need. If there was an app that we needed today, it would be this app. Like, what will I look like when I'm old, but like based on some real computer science and.
Oh wow, that would make for a great app. They could put that for sale. I feel like people would definitely.
Oh, people would definitely. Hey, that's a great idea. Someone license that technology from them.
Do it. Somebody. Facebook, maybe. Someone.
But oh my gosh, I so wanted to scare you today.
Well,
with a photo of what I would look when I was in my 40s. Just kidding.
Mission accomplished. Okay.
Mission accomplished. All right, enough of that. This was going around this social media earlier. Classic album covers mashed up with Google Street View.
Yeah, it's funny, how these pictures on the album covers can make a place look, so romantic. It's taken on film and you put it on a square cover for a record, and then you put it next to Google, Street View, and that just looks like crap.
So what does that mean, Sarah?
I mean, I'm not really into this. That's what I mean. I'm not really into this series.
The Beatles one is so iconic, though. But you're right. I mean, I think it says something about the value of a photographer.
Yeah,
is what I was
absolutely.
going
Yeah.
for.
Oh no, that's you. Yes, correct.
This sort of reminded me also what was that? What was that series we had at Luminance? Of people will overlay photos, old photos on top of like a new scene.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about, and I'm blanking on the name.
Yeah. Um,
It's really popular.
it's super popular, this idea, and it's cool. You know what? It's cool. It's cool because I think just like showing the old, the young baby and the old guy, it's sort of like you're juxtaposing the future and the present and the past in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
For me, this was kind of like I looked at it for a few minutes. I was like, oh, that's cool, and then I moved on to the next thing because I have such a short attention span.
Yeah.
But it took them a while to track these places down. So I guess props to those guys. Golf Digest, the magazine. Well, they had a pretty controversial cover, which was to put Paulina Gretzky. Paulina is Wayne Gretzky's daughter, Wayne Gretzky being the hockey great, and Paulina being his very attractive daughter who doesn't play golf,
Oh,
but
yep.
is dating a golfer.
Oh, is dating a
Is
golfer.
dating a
Okay.
golfer. So they
Okay.
put her on the cover. And this was also, I read some criticism about this. First of all, she's not a golfer. And this is Golf Digest, right?
Yeah. First
Second of
problem.
all, Golf Digest apparently has historically not put the top women golfers on the cover of the magazine. So the current number one and the former number one have never been on the cover of the magazine.
Oh, wow.
So now all of a sudden they put Paulina Gretzky on the cover, and people are like, "What are you like? This is not Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition." And the editor, like, defended his position by being like, "Well, we're this is tangential to golf, and we're in the business of selling magazines, so it's cool." Which I just didn't agree with.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I understand, like, you got to sell magazines and you want the cover to stand out on the newsstand and stuff, but this is, come on. Come
Yeah,
on, this looks like a Maxim cover.
it does. That's in poor taste, especially, yeah, just shame on you, Golf Digest. Haven't even put
So,
the top women golfers on the cover
yeah.
yet. Come on.
So in response, Cy Sur in Florida, a buddy of mine, he did a series. He grabbed his friends, all guys, and he recreated the cover. And I mean, he really recreated the cover. I mean, look at the lighting position, the shadow, the quality of the shadow.
Yeah, it's
And then, of
perfect.
course, the dude's wearing like capri pants and a little
Like sports bra.
bra or something, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so he called this the Gretzky Boys. And he threw it up on Twitter and he threw it up on Facebook. And then the thing exploded. And it was everywhere. Everybody picked it up.
Oh man, all the golfers were into it, huh?
People were into it. And I think, when something like this goes viral, I think it's as much as the public's reaction to the social commentary as it is just being like, oh, this is a funny photo. Like, I don't think it went viral just because it's a funny photo of dudes
Posing
posing
like women, like a
women.
woman.
I think people are like, Golf Digest is ridiculous, is what they're really saying when they pass it on and they put it on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a funny little idea. And Sarah, we constantly talk about how do photographers go viral? How do professional photographers replicate the viral success that seemingly like a lot of non-professional photographers have? And I guess Sai did it.
Yeah. Yeah, now Golf Digest needs to call him up and have him shoot the next cover and have it be a female
Yeah.
golfer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great idea.
Do it, Golf Digest.
Let's do it, Golf Digest. I'm sure they are listening to the podcast right now. Come on, do it, Golf Digest.
I know you're on the line.
um, we would be remiss not to mention drone photography in a week
That would be weird if we didn't talk
if
about
we
it.
didn't talk about drones. They're everywhere, these drones. And we've talked in the past about sort of liability issues in regards to drones, and then all of a sudden we see a drone falls on an athlete's head during the triathlon. Because remember when the gas pipe exploded in Harlem, that photographer showed up with his drone and he took some pretty incredible shots. And then the cop said, "Yo, what are you doing? You can't operate that drone. Get away from here."
Right.
And yeah, I think you and I had a brief conversation of like, what if it falls on somebody's head? And then just a few weeks later, the drone falls on someone's head.
Right. But we also kind of were, we were a little like, oh man, FAA, like what? Why you got to be putting regulations on us?
Yeah. And it's all fun and games until someone has a drone dropped on their head.
Right. Now we get it. Okay, FAA, you do what you need to do to regulate the usage.
In fairness to the drone enthusiasts here in the U.S., this did happen in Australia.
True.
So maybe the Aussies just don't know how to fly drones. I'm just making fun of you guys.
Yeah. No.
Oh, those drones. And then speaking of drones, I thought this was very cool. So
yeah, I saw this on Dazed.
You saw this on Dazed. This went everywhere as well. And a giant art installation is spreading like these huge portraits of children in tribal areas where our U.S. drones are operating and killing people. And as a reminder to the drone operators who are operating thousands of miles away or wherever they are on the safety of an aircraft carrier, that when they drop the bombs, they have a chance of killing innocents, which obviously has happened in the past. So I thought this was a great, first of all, it reminded me of JR, the artist, who loves these large-scale portraits. And I was like, I thought this was a JR project. It wasn't, but it's a great project.
Yeah, it is. I thought it was interesting they chose to print a child, not that has been killed by a drone, but whose family has been killed by a drone. So this child is still alive, and I thought that was an interesting just way to do it, to show them like these are the people you are affecting.
And hey, Sarah J., I'm not pro-terrorist. I'm just saying when you drop bombs indiscriminately, you're going to kill people, innocents, and so that's why I like this project. Absolutely, yeah. So it's not either you're with us or you're with the terrorist. That's not how it is for me. That's all I'm saying. Right, no. No, don't worry, I didn't think you were. Okay, now we're moving into the copyright section of the show. So you remember this? This was Christina Hill shot I think it was an engagement kiss photo of a gay couple. And a politician then stole the photo, State Senator Jean White, stole the photo, composited it into basically like an anti-gay message. Wow. For her political purposes. And the photographer and the couple, they were like, what the hell? You can't do that. Well, unbelievably, the judge decided that this was fair use. I'm sorry, no. Let me. This is not fair use. It's free speech. Right. Saying that political ads were primarily non-commercial. Political ads are primarily non-commercial. This after the Supreme Court ruled again, basically saying unlimited spending is okay for political campaigns. That's commercial, man. Yes, it is. And I'm not advocating one side of the line or the other. I'm just saying politics is clearly a commercial venture when people can spend unlimited money on it. And this is theft. It is, yeah. And this isn't even a case where if they'd gotten in touch with her to try to buy the image, she wouldn't have said yes anyway. So, wow. So, no, okay, wait. I think I screwed that up. Did you screw it up? Yeah, I think, okay, so she's saying that it is a plausible, the judge is saying it is a plausible copyright infringement, but it is fair use. I got to reread the article. I just got so upset at this. It's just not a good precedent. No. Again, forget about how you feel about gay marriage. Forget about what side of the line you are. This is not good for photographers. No. Okay, sorry, I got a little excited there. TMZ, I'm not an everyday reader of TMZ.
This isn't on your Google Reader.
It's not on my Google radar, but every once in a while, I get compelled to go over and check out what's happening in TMZ world.
Mm-hmm.
And Katherine Heigl, the actress, was photographed by paparazzi coming out of Duane Reade. I see them around my neighborhood because I live down in Tribeca, and there's like a fancy hotel down the street, and there's always paparazzi out there, and they shoot, anything. And they have their long lenses, etc. So paparazzi were staking out Katherine, and they took a photo of her carrying bags out of Duane Reade, which is a drugstore here in New York. And I guess, so this went up on The Wire or whatever celebrity paparazzi sites that there are. And Duane Reade then tweeted it, saying, "Love a quick hashtag Duane Reade run, even at Katie Heigl can't resist shopping NYC's favorite drugstore."
Whoops.
So they basically misappropriated her rights of privacy, as we like to say in copyright land, turning her unwittingly into a spokesperson for Duane Reade. You can't do that.
Can't do that.
Can't do that. So she's suing them.
Good.
$6 million.
Good.
A little excessive. I mean, the game is obviously like you sue them for a lot. You either settle for a little bit or you know that the judgment's going to be knocked down. I'm sure she's going to settle for a little bit of money, and Duane Reade won't do it again, which is obviously the behavior that you want to engender. But come on, you can't do that. How can people not know that by now?
And you social media managers, come on.
You got to listen to our podcast to learn about copyright. Disclaimer: we are not lawyers. That's all. Yeah, that's all I want to say. Hey, 11 photographers were announced among the winner of the 2014 Guggenheim Fellowship. So 178 recipients, and 11 of them are photographers.
And 4 of them are women.
And 4 of them are women. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about Brenda Canelli.
Brenda Canelli, yeah.
Yeah,
There's some great photography in there.
Yeah.
And I went to all of their websites. I looked at their stuff. Everybody will have their opinion about the photographs, and obviously we're never short of opinions. And some of the stuff wasn't my favorite, and some of them are more like artists than they are photographers.
Yeah, I saw that too.
They're not great technicians. There's more of a statement behind the work, which I totally respect as well. I did like Rachel Sussman's work, though. And Rachel has been photographing the oldest living things in the world. Just kind of cool, like traveling around the world on these various grants, photographing the oldest living things. And I think the criteria that she has is they have to be living and over 2,000 years old. That's nuts.
Yeah.
And like, not the greatest photos in the world, but
solid idea, though.
Solid idea and great execution.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm also into Gregory Halpern's work, who's getting a grant, so check him out.
Gregory Halpern, all right.
Yeah.
Speaking of grants, here is Getty offering up to $130,000 worth of grant awards to editorial and portrait photographers, celebrating the 10-year anniversary of its grant program. And as we've said on the broadcast before, photographers who aren't checking this stuff out and wondering how they're going to pay for their next project, or saying my Kickstarter didn't work, you got to be aware of the grant. Like this is just part of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And look at this photo by Matt Eisch.
Love it.
Invisible Yoke Project. Great. Look at this streaming light coming through the window. So check it out. We humorously talked about the drone falling on people's heads. We talked about the gigantic portraits for drone pilots in Pakistan. And then, as I was thinking last night, we've tried ever since the debacle on Valentine's Day, where we ended with not such a happy story.
Right.
We've always tried to show something inspiring at the end of the broadcast. And I wasn't sure what it was going to be this week. And then, in a bout of insomnia last night, I'm scanning on Facebook, And back home in Hawaii, it's surf season on the North Shore. So Waimea Bay being a very famous surf spot on the North Shore, and I see that there were whales there, humpback whales, frolicking in the surf. This is insanity. So look at this. This is a long telephoto lens, and you see the surfer here on the front wave, and you see whales there in the back.
Oh man, switch over to that.
Oh yeah, I forgot to switch over. You were just looking at my face and enjoying the look on my face.
Thinking about whales.
So I know it's a little bit hard to see here, but here's the surfer here in the front. And then those two shadows, those aren't like sharks or anything. Those are actually humpback whales. So hard to see in this perspective and appreciate the size of these whales, etc. But turns out that the photographer that was there that day also had a drone. Hmm. And he put together a little drone thing. Let's play it full screen and see what's up.
Oh yeah, I watched this for a minute, and whenever I'm feeling stressed out, I think I'm just gonna put on this video and watch it because it's the most calming thing.
It's pretty amazing.
It's beautiful.
So obviously, as you're watching it on the podcast, it's kind of herky and jerky. So we encourage you to go to blog.photoshelter.com and check out the link and watch this thing. It is unbelievable seeing these humpback whales so close to land, so close to the surfers.
Yeah.
And four of them. Wow. And the shots are spectacular.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
So yay for drones. I'm glad he didn't
yay for whales.
To fly them over the whales. Yeah, yay for whales. Yay for Hawaii. It's all good stuff. All good stuff. You know, Sarah, the next time I start the podcast without reminding people of the hashtag #ILovePhoto, you need to ring a buzzer or something.
I do. Okay.
Because I always forget. And we should remind people who are listening to the audio podcast that this is available in video version, so you can see our lovely faces and see some of the photos and video that we're talking about on our blog, blog.photoshelter.com. And for those of you watching the video version and wondering how can I listen to this in my car, you can go to iTunes and look up I Love Photography, the podcast, and download us there. Hey.
Do it.
Sarah, I'm off to Europe for 2 weeks.
I know. I'm very jealous.
What are you? I mean, who's going to be here in my absence?
I don't know. It's a tough seat to fill, Alan.
I know. I'm sure it'll be much better when I'm not here. You know what? I look forward to showing some of my photos when I get back. I'm going to Paris and Champagne, France. You know, I'm a big champagne aficionado.
You are.
And one of my bucket item lists, I actually, so 2 bucket item lists that I'm addressing this year. One was to go see the Northern Lights, which I did in Iceland earlier this year. And one is to go to Champagne and go to all these little champagne houses and drink a lot of champagne.
Wow.
So I'm just knocking them off. That's what I'm doing.
Good.
Well, anyway, enjoy the warm spring weather while I'm gone. I'm sure the weather over in Paris will be equally wonderful. But we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Okay. Thanks, Alan.
So for Sarah Jacobs, this is Alan Murabayashi. You have been watching or listening to I Love Photography. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.